Testing, testing. Testing, testing. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Testing, testing. 1, 2. Sorry about this. Excuse me if you can hear me. Testing, testing. I really have to try not to be sitting here too close to the microphone when I'm breathing. I'm just listening back on the. And I just heard there where it just cut out part of what I was saying. Right, hopefully it's all nice and clear for everybody. Everybody. All three of you. Two of you. Right. So I was listening to Jason's his stream last night, and one of the questions that he was given was, what book would you recommend to wake people up? And he said, well, I liked his answer. He said, that's really hard. That's doing disservice to other books. You can't pick just one book. But he said, if you want to read a book that would, if you weren't questioning the way this earth, the way this world and everything's put together and how it's presented to us, if after reading this book, you'd have to question it. And he said it was written in 1919. So obviously, first thing I did, I went and I found the book online, The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. And I went and downloaded the PDF. And what I'd quite like to do now is read it to you. And we're doing it through Restream because OBS is crashing my computer, which is upsetting me a little bit. Restream, I checked today, and there's no limit to the amount of free streaming you can do with Restream. And all that means is that I have to have the watermark, the Restream watermark, and those bloody colours. And that I can't modify anything in the the backgrounds and all that sort of stuff. But really, that doesn't matter. I can stream to two platforms for free. With StreamYard, you can only stream to one platform for free, and they limit you to 20 hours a month. Now, the stream isn't perfect through Restream. There's some little glitches, but I get to stream to two platforms for free for an unlimited number of hours. There's no limit on it. So, Christos, much love, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna overlay the chat. So you'll all be able to see the chat. And if there's any glitches as a result, I'm having to listen through my earphones, and it all sounds okay. But if there are any problems, let me know in the chat. Because I can see all the chat and everything much better. I can see it really easily. I can't see how many people I got watching, but that does not matter. This is a live reading. First time I've ever laid my eyes on this book. It's a live reading, like I do all of my book readings. And anybody watching it on a replay, please bear that in mind, and forgive any if I stumble or mispronounce anything. So this is The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort, written in 1919. Because it was written in 1919, it means it's public domain. It means it's totally free. So there aren't any problems with copyright or anything. The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort, New York, Bonnie and Silverite Incorporated. Scanned, proofed, and formatted by John Bruno Hare. Sacredtext.com, July 2008. This text is in the public domain in the US because it was published prior to 1923. There are 250 something pages, 257 pages, I think. Right. A procession of the damned. By the damned, I mean the excluded. We shall have a procession of data that science has excluded. Battalions of the accursed, captained by pallid data that I have exhumed, will march. You'll read them, or they'll march. Some of them livid, and some of them fiery, and some of them rotten. Some of them are corpses, skeletons, mummies, twitching, tottering, animated by companions that have been damned alive. There are giants that will walk by. Those sound asleep. There are things that are theorems and things that are rags. You'll go by like Euclid arm in arm. You'll go by like Euclid arm in arm with the spirit of anarchy. Here and there will flit little harlots. Many are clowns, but many are of the highest respectability. Some are assassins. There are pale stenches and gaunt superstitions, and mere shadows and lively malices, whims and amiabilities. The naive and the pedantic, and the bizarre and the grotesque, and the sincere and the insincere, the profound and the puerile. A stab and a laugh, and the patiently folded hands of hopeless propriety. The ultra-respectable, but the condemned anyway. The aggregate appearance is of dignity and dissoluteness. The aggregate voice is a defiant prayer, but the spirit of the whole is processional. The power that has said to all these things that they are damned is dogmatic science, but they'll march. The little harlots will caper, and the freaks will distract attention, and the clowns will break the rhythm of the whole with their buffooneries. But the solidity of the procession as a whole, the impressiveness of the things that pass and pass and pass and keep on and keep on and keep on coming. The irresistibleness of things that neither threaten nor jeer nor defy, but arrange themselves in mass formations that pass and pass and keep on passing. So, by the damned, I mean the excluded. But by the excluded, I mean that which will someday be the excluding. Or everything that is won't be, and everything that isn't will be. But of course, will be that which won't be. It is our expression that the flux between that which isn't and that which won't be, or the state that is commonly and absurdly called existence, is a rhythm of heaven and hells, that the damned won't stay damned, that salvation only precedes perdition. The inference is that someday our accursed tatterdemalions will be sleek angels. Then the sub-inference is that some later day back they'll go whence they came. It is our expression that nothing can attempt to be, except by attempting to exclude something else. That which is commonly called being is a state that is wrought more or less definitely proportionately to the appearance of positive difference between that which is excluded and that which is included. But it is our expression that there are no positive differences, that all things are like a mouse and a bug in the heart of a cheese. Mouse and a bug. No two things could seem more unlike. They are then a week, or they stay there a month. They're there a week, or they stay there a month. Both are then only transmutations of cheese. I think we're all bugs and mice, and are only different expressions of an all-inclusive cheese. Or that red is not positively different from yellow. There's only another degree of whatever vibrancy yellow is a degree of. That red and yellow are continuous, or that they merge in orange. So that then, if, upon the basis of yellowness and redness, science should attempt to classify all phenomena, including all red things as veritable, and excluding all yellow things as false or illusory, demarcation would have to be false and arbitrary, because things coloured orange, constituting continuity, would belong on both sides of the attempted borderline. As we go along, we should be impressed with this, that no basis for classification or inclusion and exclusion, more reasonably than that of redness and yellowness, has ever been conceived of. Science has, by appeal to various bases, included a multitude of data. Had it not done so, there would be nothing with which to seem to be. Science has, by appeal to various bases, excluded a multitude of data. Then, if redness is continuous with yellowness, if every basis of admission is continuous with every basis of exclusion, science must have excluded some things that are continuous with the accepted, in redness and yellowness, which merge in orangeness. We typify all tests and standards, all means of forming an opinion, or that any positive opinion upon any subject is illusion built upon the fallacy that there are positive differences to judge by, that the quest of all intellection has been for something, a fact, a basis, a generalization, a law, formula, a major premise that is positive, that the best that has ever been done has been to say that some things are self-evident, whereas by evidence we mean the supporting of something else. That this is the quest, but that it has never been attained, but that science has acted, ruled, pronounced, and condemned as if it had been attained. I'm just going to pop into Restream here and see. Right, I've got 4 people watching. Only Christos has been nice enough to say hello, good day, much love. But that's cool. No worries. Lurkers in the background, just listening to my voice. No problem. Sorry, I'll continue. What is a house? It is not possible to say what anything is, as positively distinguished from anything else, if there are no positive differences. A barn is a house, if one lives in it. If residence constitutes houseness because style of architecture does not, then a bird's nest is a house. And human occupancy is not the standard to judge by, but we speak of dogs' houses, not material, because we speak of snow houses of Eskimos, or a shell as a house to a hermit crab, or was to the mollusk that made it, or things seemingly so positively different as the White House at Washington and a shell on the seashore are seen to be continuous. So no one has ever been able to say what electricity is, for instance. It isn't anything as positively distinguished from heat or magnetism or life. Metaphysicians and theologians and biologists have tried to define life. They have failed, because in a positive sense there is nothing to define. There is no phenomenon of life that is not, to some degree, manifest in chemism, magnetism, astronomic motions. White coral islands in a dark blue sea. Their seeming of distinctness, the seeming of individuality, or of positive difference from one from another, but all are only projections from the same sea bottom. The difference between sea and land is not positive. In all water there is some earth. In all earth there is some water. So then, that all seeming things are not things at all, if they are intercontinuous, any more than is the leg of a table a thing in itself, if it is only a projection from something else. That not one of us is a real person, if physically we're continuous with the environment, if physically there is nothing to us but expression of relation to environment. Our general expression has 2 aspects: conventional monism, or that all things that seem to have that seem to have identity of their own are only islands that are projections from something underlying and have no real outlines of their own. But that all things, through only projections, are projections that are striving to break away from the underlying that denies them identity of their own. I conceive of one intercontinuous nexus in which and of which all seeming things are only different expressions, but in which all things are localizations of one attempt to break free and become real things, or to establish entity or positive difference, or final demarcation, or unmodified independence, or personality, or soul, as it is called in human phenomena. That everything that tries to establish itself as a real or positive or absolute system, government, organization, self, soul, identity, individuality, can so attempt only by drawing a line about itself or about the inclusions that constitute itself, and damning or excluding or breaking away from all other things. That if it does not so act, it cannot seem to be. That if it does so act, it falsely and arbitrarily and futilely and disastrously acts, just as one who draws a circle in the sea, including a few waves, saying that the other waves, with which the included are continuous, are positively different, and stakes his life upon maintaining that the admitted and the damned are positively different. Our expression is that our whole existence is animated of the local by an ideal that is realizable only in the universe, that if all exclusions are false, because all ways are included and excluded continuous, that if all seeming of existence perceptible to us is the product of an exclusion, there is nothing that is perceptible to us that really is, that only the universe can really be. Our special interest is in modern science as a manifestation as one of this one ideal or purpose or process that it has falsely excluded, that there are no positive standards to judge by, that it has excluded things that, by its own pseudo standards, have as much right to come in as have the chosen. Our general expression that the state that is commonly and absurdly called existence is a flow or a current or an attempt from negative to positive, from negativeness to positiveness, and is intermediate to both. By positiveness we mean harmony, equilibrium, order, regularity, stability, consistency, unity, realness, system, government, organization, liberty, independence, soul, self, personality, entity, individuality, truth, beauty, justice, perfection, and definiteness. That all that is called development, progress, or evolution is movement forward, or attempt forward. This state for which, or for aspects of which, there are so many names, all of which are summed up in one word: positiveness. At first, this summing up may not be very readily acceptable. At first, it may seem that all these words are not synonyms, that harmony may mean order, but that by independence, for instance, we do not mean truth, or that by stability we do not mean beauty or system or justice. I conceive of one intercontinuous nexus which expresses itself. I conceive of one intercontinuous nexus which expresses itself in astronomic phenomena, and chemic, biologic, psychic, sociologic, that it is everywhere striving to localize positiveness, that to this attempt in various fields of phenomena, which are only quasi different, we give different names. We speak of the system of the planets and not of their government. But in considering a store, for instance, and its management, we see that the words are interchangeable. It used to be customary to speak of chemic equilibrium, but not of social equilibrium. That false demarcation has been broken down. That false demarcation has been broken down. We shall see that by all these words we mean the same state, as everyday conveniences or in terms of common illusions. Of course, they are not synonyms. To a child, an earthworm is not an animal. It is to the biologist. By beauty, I mean that which seems complete. Obversely, that the incomplete or the mutilated is the ugly. Venus de Milo. To a child, she is ugly. When a mind adjusts to think of her as a completeness, even though by by physiologic standards, incomplete, she is beautiful. A hand, thought of only as a hand, may seem beautiful. Found on a battlefield, obviously, not beautiful. But everything in our everything in our experience is only a part of something else, that in turn is only a part of still something else, or that there is nothing beautiful in our experience, only appearances that are intermediate to beauty and ugliness, that only universality is complete, and that the complete is the beautiful, that every attempt to achieve beauty is an attempt to give to the local the attribute of the universal. By stability, we mean the immovable and the unaffected. But all seeming things are only reactions to something else. Stability, too, then, can be only the universal, or that besides which there is nothing else. Though some things seem to have, or have, higher approximations to stability than have others, there are, in our experience, only various degrees of intermediateness to stability and instability. Hey, DN, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, mate. I hope you're feeling good. Every man, then, who works for stability under its various names of permanency, survival, duration, is striving to localize in something the state that is realizable only in the universal. Voynich, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, mate. By independence, entity, and individuality, I can mean only that besides which there is nothing else. If given only two things, they must be continuous and mutually effective. If everything is only a reaction to something else, and any two things would be destructive of each other's independence, entity, or individuality. All attempted organizations and systems and consistencies, some approximating far higher than others, but all only intermediate to order and disorder, fail eventually because all their relations with outside forces, all are attempted completeness. If to all local phenomena there were always outside forces, these attempts too are realizable only in the state of completeness, or that to which there are no outside forces. Or that these words are synonyms, all meaning the state that we call the positive state, that our whole existence is a striving for the positive state. The amazing paradox of it all, that all things are trying to become the universal by excluding other things, that there is this one process, and that it does animate all expressions in all fields of phenomena, of that which we think of as are that which we think of are as one intercontinuous nexus. Reading this live again. Don't forget, please. I'm reading this live from a PDF. Um, it's not printed out fantastically clearly, and the way the use of language, this guy's language, is interesting. To go from W.J. Perry to Gurdjieff, and now this guy. They've all got slightly different styles of writing, and they all use. They've all got excellent vocabularies. The religious and their idea or ideal of the soul, they mean distinct, stable entity, or a state that is independent and not a mere flux of vibrations or complex of reactions to environment, continuous with environment, merging away with an infinitude of other interdependent complexes. But the only thing that we would not merge away into something else would be that besides which there is nothing else. That truth is only another name for the positive state, or that the quest for truth is the attempt to achieve positiveness. Yo, Squirrel Sniper, how you doing, man? Yeah, is that from Jason? That's why I'm reading it. It's because of Jason recommending it. The truth is only another name for the positive state, or that the quest for truth is an attempt to achieve positiveness. Scientists who have thought that they were seeking the truth, but who were trying to find out astronomic or chemic or biological truths. But truth is that besides which there is nothing, nothing to modify it, nothing to question it, nothing to form an exception, the all-inclusive, the complete. By truth, I mean the universal. So chemists have sought the true, or the real, and have always failed in their endeavours because of the outside relations of chemical phenomena. Have failed in the sense that never has a chemical law without exceptions been discovered, because chemistry is continuous with astronomy, physics, biology. For instance, if the sun should greatly change its distance from this earth, and if human life could survive, the familiar chemic formulas would no longer work out. A new science of chemistry would have to be learned. Or that all attempts to find truth in the special are attempts to find universal in the local. And artists and their striving for positiveness under the name of harmony, but they're pigments that are or are responding to a deranging environment, or the strings of a musical instrument that are differently and disturbingly adjusting to outside chemic and thermal and gravitational forces. Again and again, this oneness of all our ideals, and that it is the attempt to be or to achieve locally that which is realizable only universally. In our experience, there is only intermediateness to harmony and discord. Harmony is that besides which there are no outside forces. And nations that have fought only with one motive, for individuality or entity or to be real, final nations not subordinate to or parts of other nations, and that nothing but intermediateness has ever been attained, and that history is record of failures of this one attempt, because there always have been outside forces or other nations contending for the same goal. As to physical things, chemic, mineralogic, astronomic, it is not customary to say that they act to achieve truth or identity, but it is understood that all motions are toward equilibrium, that there is no motion except towards equilibrium. Of course, always away from some other approximation to equilibrium. All biologic phenomena act to adjust. There are no biologic actions other than adjustments. Adjustment is another name for equilibrium. Equilibrium is the universal, or that which has nothing external to derange it. But that all that we call being is motion, and that all motion is the expression not of equilibrium, but of equilibrating, or of unattained. My God, this is quite hard to read. But that all that we call being is motion, and that all motion is the expression not of equilibrium, but of equilibrating, or of unattained. That life motions are expressions of equilibrium unattained, and that all thought relates to the unattained. That to have what is called being in our quasi-state is not to be in the positive sense, or is to be intermediate to equilibrium and inequilibrium. So then, that all phenomena in our intermediate state or quasi-state represent this one attempt to organize, stabilize, harmonize, individualize, or to positivize, or to become real. That only to have seeming is to express failure, or intermediateness to final failure and final success. That every attempt that is observable is defeated by continuity, or by outside forces, or by the excluded, that they are continuous with the included. That our whole existence is an attempt by the relative to be the absolute, or by the local to be the universal. In this book, my interest is in this attempt as manifested in modern science. That it has attempted to be real, true, final, complete, absolute. That if the seeming of being here in our quasi-state is the product of exclusion that is always false and arbitrary, if always are included and excluded continuous, the whole seeming system or entity of modern science is only quasi-system or quasi-entity, wrought by the same false and arbitrary process as that by which the still less positive system that preceded it, or the theological system, wrought the illusions of its being. In this book, I assemble some of the data that I think are of the falsely and arbitrarily excluded, the data of the damned. I have gone into the outer darkness of scientific and philosophical transactions and proceedings, ultra respectable, but covered with the dust of disregard. I have descended into journalism. I have come back with the quasi-souls of lost data. They will march. As to the logic of our expressions to come, that there is only quasi-logic in our mode of seeming, that nothing has ever been proved because there is nothing to prove. When I say that there is nothing to prove, I mean that to those who accept continuity, or the merging away of all phenomena into other phenomena, without positive demarcations one from another. There is, in a positive sense, no one thing. There is no thing to prove. For instance, no thing can be proved to be animal because animalness and vegetableness are not positively different. There are some expressions of life that are as much vegetable as animal, or that represent the merging of animalness or vegetableness. There is then no positive test, standard, criterion, means of forming an opinion. As distinct from vegetables, animals do not exist. There is no thing to prove. No thing could be proved to be good, for instance. There is nothing in our existence that is good in a positive sense, or is really outlined from evil. If to forgive be good in times of peace, It is evil in wartime. There is nothing to prove. Good in our experience is continuous with, or is only another aspect of evil. As to what I'm trying to do now, I accept only. If I can't see universally, I only localize. So, of course then, that nothing ever has been proved. That theological pronouncements are as much open to doubt as they ever were, but in that, by a hypnotizing process, they become dominant over the majority of minds in their era. That in a succeeding era, the laws, dogmas, formulas, principles of materialistic science never were proved, because they are only localizations simulating the universe, but that the leading minds of their era of dominance were hypnotized into more or less firmly believing them. Newton's three laws, and that they are attempts to achieve positiveness or to defy and break continuity, and are as unreal as are all other attempts to localize the universal. That if every observable body is continuous, mediately or immediately, with all other bodies, it cannot be influenced only by its own inertia, so that there is no way of knowing what the phenomena of inertia may be. That if all things are reacting to an infinitude of forces, there is no way of knowing what the effects of only one impressed force would be. That if every reaction is continuous with its action, it cannot be conceived of as whole, and that there is no way of conceiving what it might be equal and opposite to, or that Newton's three laws are three articles of faith, or that demons and angels and inertias and reactions are all mythological characters, but that in their eras of dominance they were almost as firmly believed in as if they had been proved. Enormities and preposterousness will march. They will be proved, as well as Moses or Darwin or Lyell ever proved anything. We substitute acceptance for belief. Cells of an embryo take on different appearances in different eras. The more firmly established, the more difficult to change. That social organism is embryonic. That firmly to believe is to impede development. That only temporarily to accept is to facilitate. But except that we substitute acceptance for belief, our methods will be the conventional methods, the methods by which every belief has been formulated and supported, or our methods will be the methods of theologians and savages and scientists and children, because if all phenomena are continuous, there can be no positively different methods. By the inconclusive means and methods of cardinals and fortune tellers and even evolutionists and peasants, methods which must be inconclusive if they relate always to the local. And if there is nothing local to conclude, we shall write this book. If it function as an expression of its era, it will prevail. All sciences begin with attempts to define. Nothing ever has been defined, because there is nothing to define. Darwin wrote The Origin of Species. He was never able to tell what he meant by a species. It is not difficult to define. It is not possible to define, sorry. It is not possible to define. Nothing has ever been finally found out, because there is nothing final to find out. It's like looking for a needle that no one ever lost in a haystack that never was. But that all scientific attempts really to find out something, whereas really there is nothing to find out, are attempts themselves really to be something. A seeker of truth, he will never find it, but the dimmest of possibilities, he may himself become truth, or that science is more than an inquiry, that it is a pseudo-construction or a quasi-organization, that it is an attempt to break away and locally establish harmony, stability, equilibrium, consistency, entity, dimmest of possibilities, that it may succeed, that ours is a pseudo-existence, and that all appearances in it partake of its essential fictitiousness, fictitiousness. Reading live, don't forget, thank you very much, reading live, that ours is a pseudo-existence, and that all appearances in it partake of its essential fictitiousness, but that some appearances approximate far more highly to the positive state than do others. We conceive of all things as occupying gradations, or steps in series between positiveness and negativeness, or realness and unrealness, that some seeming things are more nearly consistent, just, beautiful, unified, individual, harmonious, and stable than others. We are not realists. We are not idealists. We are intermediatists. That nothing is real, that nothing is unreal, that all phenomena are approximations one way or the other between realness and unrealness. So then, that our whole quasi-existence is an intermediate stage between positiveness and negativeness, or realness and unrealness, like perjury, I think, but like purgatory, I think. But in our summing up, which was very sketchily done, we omitted to make clear that realness is an aspect of the positive state. By realness, I mean that which does not merge away into something else, and that which is not partly something else, that which is not a reaction to or an imitation of something else. By a real hero, we mean one who is not partly a coward, or whose actions and motives do not merge away into cowardice. But if in continuity all things do merge, by realness I mean the universal, beside which there is nothing with which to emerge. That through the local might be though the local might be universalized, it is not conceivable that the universal can be localized, but that high approximations there may be, and that these approximate successes may be translated out of intermediateness into realness, quite as, in a relative sense, the industrial world recruits itself by translating out of realness, or out of the seemingly less real, imaginings of inventors, machines which seem, when set up in factories, to have more of realness than they had when only imagined. That all progress, if all progress is towards stability, organization, harmony, consistency, or positiveness, is the attempt to become real. So then, in general metaphysical terms, our expression is that, like a purgatory, all that is commonly called existence, which we call intermediateness, is quasi-existence, neither real nor unreal, but expression of attempt to become real, or to generate for or recruit a real existence. Our acceptance is that science, though usually thought of so specifically, or in its own local terms, usually supposed to be a prying into old bones, bugs, unsavory messes, is an expression of this one spirit animating all intermediateness. That if science could absolutely exclude all data, but its own present data, or that which is assimilable with the present quasi-organization, it would be a real system with positively defined outlines. It would be real. Its seeming approximation to consistency, stability, system positiveness, or realness is sustained by damning the irreconcilable or the unassimilable. All would be well. All would be heavenly if the damned would only stay the damned. Book of the Damned by Charles Fort, 1919. Page 16, except it's not. I don't know what page it is, but how long have I been going? How long have we been going here for? Streaming live. 50 minutes. There we go. Wonderful. Well, I'll tell you what, that's not easy to read out loud. Let me see if I can hear myself. So yeah, I'm gonna make it a short one for this new book, Book of the Damned. I'm still reading The Children of the Sun, which was also recommended by Jason. Um, Sterling, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. I've got a panel. I'm going to do a panel at 2 o'clock. So if you're about and you're free, 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to do a panel. This was just a reading, the start of the Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. I'm going to continue this. I don't know, maybe later today. I'm very interested in what is being said. So I'm going to carry on with this either later today or tomorrow. We've got a live panel at 2 o'clock, and yeah, hope everybody's having a good day. I've had a nice couple of days. I've eaten well. Um, Friends have come over from the UK and surprised me. Basically, they've come over. A friend of mine, one of my best friends for like 23 years, from back home in Winchester, when I lived in Winchester. But he's from up in the northeast. We met in Winchester. We worked for the same guy, and yeah, him and his wife and his father-in-law took me out for a meal the first night, and then last night, well, yesterday, I met Ray for breakfast. Myself and Ray had a nice big. I had English breakfast, full English breakfast, and then we went for a long walk, down along the beach from Las Americas to Los Cristianos, and back up and round again, and then went over for dinner last night, and he cooked a really nice chicken pasta thing. It wasn't a bake, but it was, like it was like a pasta bake, but he cooked it in the saucepan. It was really nice. And then we went out afterwards. We went out for drinks, and well, I had Coca Cola and coffee. But the night before the first night, just for the I don't know, I just something said, "Go on, Rich, just have 1 pint of Guinness." I haven't had a drink since 2013, so I thought I'm gonna have 1 pint of Guinness. And I had 1 pint of Guinness, and it lasted all night. And I and when I was walking home, I swear I could feel the effect of 1 pint of Guinness. 4%. Um, hey dude, Bernie, how you doing, mate? Um, yes, boy, definitely nice to get out, mate. Really nice to get out. I haven't been out and socialised in such a long time. There was live music playing last night, and the guy was really good. Um, really enjoyed it. Was singing along with him, and then we went on to a karaoke. I got home about midnight, and slept well. So I'm going to, yeah, I'll be back at 2 o'clock. I'm going to grab something to eat, Um, and I'll be back at 2 o'clock for an open panel. I'll drop a link in the chat again, and people can come in and we'll have a little chin wag. And also, um, we've been exchanging comments. Myself and this guy on Twitch. Um, he's he's from Canterbury, I think, and I really like what he's saying. Really like the things that he says on Twitter. Sorry, Twitter. And I asked him today if he wanted to, if he'd be interested in coming on for a chat with me, and he said, "Yeah, definitely. He's up for that." So he's going to get in contact with his email, and we're going to set up. I'm going to set up a little conversation there, chat with a guy from Canterbury that I met on Twitter. Bernie, dude, love you too, mate. Go and lay down, go to sleep, and just get in touch and let me know about these other books that you've got. Um, and yeah, and I'll see you all at 2 o'clock. So thank you very much for being here. Voy, mate, before I go, I checked with Restream, and there's no limit to them. You can just stream. There's no limit for streaming free through StreamYard, and I'm streaming to two platforms. I'm streaming to Facebook and to YouTube. Um, I'd be able to stream to my channel and somebody else's channel. If like Bernie, I could stream to my channel and your channel for free. Um, so yeah, it's like, and I think I can have one team member, I think, um, for free as well. And I think it's $19 a month, the cheapest one to subscribe to it. To go pro. But then you can stream to 5 channels and you can record. And also, on the free version, they let you do a recording. You can't record a live, but you can do a pre-recording. You have up to 6 hours of free pre-recorded stuff, and you can upload. I think you can upload pre-recorded videos as well, I think. But yeah, Restream might be a little bit glitchy. I don't know about how it's been today. Hopefully it's been good. I think it's been good. Um, every time I've listened, yeah, I don't like listening to it, and it sounds good. It sounds nice and clear. Bonne nuit, Bernie. See you when you wake up, and yeah, like I said, I'll be back 2 o'clock. So thank you very much. And we're not going to get any outro videos or anything because I haven't been able to upload any of them. There is a way to do it with OBS, but the thing is, OBS keeps crashing and not just crashing my whole computer. So I'm just going with Restream right now. Anyway, thank you very much, peeps. I'll see you on the flip side at 2 o'clock.